Have you ever watched doors close in your face, right when you thought your breakthrough was finally here? Do you ever feel like God showed you something bigger, but your life got smaller before it got better? Have you ever wondered why the season before promotion feels less like applause and more like pruning? But what if the loss is not proof that you missed God? What if it is proof that God is making room for what could not fit in your old life? By the end of this video, you're going to understand why God removes certain people, patterns, and pressures before He lifts you, how to stop misreading the season you're in, and what to do while heaven is preparing your next level. Stay with me until the end, because this matters more than most believers realize. Jesus says in John 15, verse 2, "Every branch in me that does bear fruit He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." In plain language, that means God does not only cut away what is dead. Sometimes He cuts back what is living so it can become stronger. And when Jesus said this, He was speaking in a world that understood vineyards. A vine keeper did not prune a branch because he hated it. He pruned it because he saw potential in it. He cut with purpose. He reduced to increase. He touched what was growing so it could grow better. So here is the principle. When God starts removing things from your life, it is not always a sign that you are failing. Sometimes it is a sign that you are fruitful enough to be trusted with more. Reason number 1, God will remove your dependence on what looks impressive. You can feel this when you keep reaching for bigger numbers, stronger connections, louder support, and visible proof just to feel secure. You feel like you need more people, more resources, more confirmation, more control. Judges 7 verse 2 says, "The people with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hand." In plain language, God was saying, if I let you in like this, you will think your strength did it, not mine. Look at Gideon. You know the story. You want the victory, but not the reduction. Yet before the battle, God shrank Gideon's army from thousands to just 300. He didn't remove them to embarrass Gideon. He removed them to purify the testimony. Here's what I want you to catch. God will often weaken your props before He reveals His power. When your support system gets smaller and your assignment still stands, this is what's happening. Reason number 2, God will remove toxic attachments. You can feel this when certain relationships start getting heavy, confusing, or draining right when you're trying to obey God. Conversations that once felt normal start feeling muddy. People you used to lean on begin pulling you sideways. Genesis 13 verse 14 says, "The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him." In plain language, some directions from God become clearer only after separation takes place. Look at Abraham. As long as Lot stayed attached, tension stayed in the camp. Strife stayed in the atmosphere. But once the separation happened, God immediately started speaking again about land, legacy, and promise. Here's what I want you to catch. Some people are not evil, but they are not meant for your next season. When you experience painful distance, quiet goodbyes, this is what's happening. Reason number 3, God will remove hidden pride. You can feel this when you hate being corrected, when you need to be seen, or when you secretly believe your gift alone should have opened the door by now. You may not say out loud, but inside you feel, I'm ready. Why is everyone taking so long to recognize me? James 4 verse 6 says, God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. In plain language, pride blocks what grace wants to build. Now think about Moses. Before you see him standing before Pharaoh, you see him spending years in Midian. Before you hear his public authority, you watch his private emptying. The palace had trained him to feel capable. The wilderness taught him to feel dependent. He didn't walk into his assignment polished by ego. He walked into it broken open by God. Here's what I want you to catch. If God has to choose between your platform and your soul, He will always protect your soul. When the season humbles you, slows you, and strips your need to impress, this is what's happening. Reason number 4, God will remove your need for human approval. You can feel this when obedience starts costing you comfort. You know what God said, but you keep thinking, what will they think? What if they misunderstand me? What if I lose favor with people? Galatians 1 verse 10 says, if I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. In plain language, You cannot be fully led by God while being fully controlled by people's opinions. Look at Esther. You know how dangerous that moment was. She had to walk into the king's presence unsummoned, knowing it could cost her life. But after fasting, something shifted. She stopped letting fear of rejection lead her. She let purpose lead instead. Here's what I want you to catch. Promotion often begins where people-pleasing ends. When you feel the pressure to stay quiet, stay small, or stay agreeable just to be accepted, this is what's happening. Reason number 5. God will remove secret compromise. You can feel this when God keeps putting his finger on the habit you wanted him to ignore. The little lie, the private indulgence, the hidden shortcut, the thing you keep calling small even though it keeps stealing your strength. Hebrews 12 verse 1 says, "Let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely." In plain language, not everything slowing you down is dramatic. Some things are just attached too tightly to your feet. Look at Joseph. In Potiphar's house, opportunity and temptation showed up in the same room. And when Potiphar's wife tried to pull him into sin, Joseph ran. He didn't flirt with compromise. He fled from it. Yes, it cost him. Yes, he landed in prison. But that prison preserved the integrity that could survive the palace. Here's what I want you to catch. What feels like a loss now may be the very thing keeping your future clean. When God exposes what you hoped would stay hidden, this is what's happening. Reason number 6, God will remove your impatience. You can feel this when delay starts irritating your spirit. You know God promised something, but you're tired of waiting, tired of wondering, tired of watching others move ahead. And now you feel tempted to force what God told you to trust. Psalm 27 verse 14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage." In plain language, waiting is not passive. It is where courage grows. Look at David. He was anointed long before he was enthroned. That gap matters. He had chances to grab the crown early by killing Saul, but he refused to take by force what God had promised by grace. He didn't snatch it. He waited for it. Here's what I want you to catch. If you have to disobey God to get there, you are not ready to stay there. When the promise feels real, but the timing feels slow, this is what's happening. And I know some of you are afraid that too much has been removed. You're afraid the silence means God changed his mind. You're afraid the pruning has gone too far. You're afraid that by the time this season ends, there will be nothing left of the version of you that once felt strong. But hear me clearly. God is not emptying your life because he plans to abandon you. He is making room. He is making weight-bearing room. He is making kingdom room. This hardship is not punishment. It is preparation. It is training. It is invitation. The same hand that cuts the branch is the hand that tends a vine. The same God who allows the reduction also appoints the increase. So if your life feels like that vineyard right now, not neat, not full, not easy, remember this. The branch is not being destroyed. It is being prepared to carry more fruit than before. Not buried, but planted. Not rejected, but refined. Not forgotten, but formed. So here is your charge. Today, take one thing God has been convicting you to release. One attachment, one habit, one fear, one false need, and put it before him in prayer. Name it. Surrender it. Stop negotiating with what God is trying to remove. Your next level cannot fit inside your old yes. If this video spoke to you today, share it with someone who is in a season of loss and wondering if God is still with them. Write in the comments. God is preparing me for what he promised. Subscribe to keep growing in lighted pathways. May God steady your heart, sharpen your discernment, and prepare you well for the promotion he has already seen.